All right, thanks very much. Take a look at this. We're only a couple seconds away from the bottom of the hour. That's when the polls close in West Virginia. Here's what we can give you right now. A key race alert in West Virginia. Bernie Sanders is the early leader based on the exit poll information that we have. We are not able to project a winner right now, but we are able to say that Bernie Sanders in West Virginia is the early leader in the Democratic presidential primary. Once again, remember, these are exit polls. They're estimates based on our early survey of voters as they left their polling locations. The final outcome may be different. We can expect those numbers to change throughout the night, but Bernie Sanders, the early leader in West Virginia. As fully expected, no surprise here on the Republican side. We can project, obviously, that Donald Trump is the winner in West Virginia. He had no opposition in West Virginia. All of the other Republican candidates have dropped out, but he still needs to get to that 1,237 number. This will help him clearly tonight. Donald Trump easily wins without any opposition the Republican presidential primary in West Virginia. Jake, Dana, big win for Donald Trump without any opposition.
Big win for Donald Trump without any opposition, although he probably would have won even if he had opposition in this state today. He is, let's be honest, he's been cleaning up, and that's why he no longer has any opposition, Dana. That's
right. And as John was mentioning, one of the questions was how much of a protest vote we were going to see, not only here, but also in Nebraska. You know, the fact that we could call it so early is not a surprise, but as we see later on in the night, it will be interesting to see how much people say, you know what, no, I'm not going to vote for Donald Trump, going to the poll knowing that he is going to be the nominee. But, you know, I do think, just really quickly, the fact that West Virginia is Trump territory is really a perfect illustration of the kind of voter that he appealed to so successfully all throughout the past, you know, however many months, 6 months, 5 months?
Yeah.
The people who are just sick of Washington, but also they're desperate for somebody to say, we get you and we get things need to change. And West Virginia is a classic case of that.
Well, and a big part of his message
would have said that Bernie Sanders was going to be a political rock star.
You know what the senator said to me one night? I was interviewing him after one of the debates. He said, a year ago, you would have treated me as a fringe candidate. I said,
that's what you would have been, Bernie.
You know, I think fringe, I mean, fringe is about right. I mean, he was a guy who didn't identify with the party.
Well, you know, and it didn't turn out that way. A lot of things did not turn out the way we expected this year. And that's one of the big things that didn't turn out. That would be the big political story of the year if not for Donald Trump.
I wonder whether Hillary Clinton can do anything about student loans, because there's something that's a near and present reality to young families. You're 22 years old. You get out of school. You owe $100,500. $100,500, and you're paying 8% on it.
Yeah.
And Bernie says, I can help you with it. Hillary says, what? I mean, that's, it's going to be a challenge to them to keep those people upbeat.
Yeah, that whole question of how do young people get a start in life these days with the economy where
failure to launch when you got that pack on your back.
Really hard.
And if you go to med school or law school, it just grows the amount of money
you got to try to buy a house.
Anyway, here it is. It's now 7:30. It's getting there, and the polls are closed in West Virginia now. And now NBC News can project. When all the votes are counted in West Virginia, Senator Bernie Sanders will be the winner of the West Virginia primary. The aforementioned Bernie Sanders, the projected winner over Hillary Clinton in the state of West Virginia. On the Republican side, no surprise here, Donald Trump's the projected winner in West Virginia tonight. The presumptive Republican nominees adding to his delegate totals and getting closer to that magic number of 1237, the majority. Well, let's talk about the Democrats. Gene, we were just talking about Bernie Sanders. He's won another one. He could win 4 this month.
Right. He could sweep May, essentially. He could. This could be a very good month for him.
Oregon, Kentucky, you know, he could do well.
Yeah, I mean, so the optics, the atmospherics are I was going to say not ideal, but they're just bad for Clinton. I mean, to go, and she'll go into California. Presumably, she'll win California on June 7th. But to have a whole month of potential losses, you know, for somebody who's supposed to be the Democratic
okay, that's right.
It's not a great look.
You're an editor tomorrow morning with major newspapers like the Post have to put a headline in, probably somewhere above the fold. She wants West Virginia. Okay, they say she had made a mistake a couple of weeks back saying in Ohio that the coal mine's going to be closed, the coal miners will be out of work. How big a role does that play? Will that be said that that's when she stepped in it?
Well, you know, I think that will certainly be mentioned, but maybe in a lower graph. I think if I were editing the story, it would lead with Bernie Sanders' victory, and then it would try to take a big picture view of the Sanders campaign and look ahead toward the rest of the race and the fact that he has consolidated this sort of movement support throughout the primary season. That's not going to go away. That's there, and that's something that she has to deal with, even if she is the eventual nominee.
Okay, we're going to go to Steve Kornacki for full analysis. What just happened, Steve?
Well, the how in terms of how Bernie Sanders wins this thing in West Virginia tonight, a big factor here are voters who actually support Donald Trump coming out and voting for Bernie Sanders in this primary. There's a couple of theories about why this might be happening. One reason could be there is a Democratic primary in West Virginia tonight for governor. There's no Republican primary for governor. So what you might have here are independents who want to vote for the Republicans in the fall, want to vote for Trump in the fall, but they want to have something to do with this race for governor. So they come into the Democratic primary, vote in the race for governor, and while they're at it, they vote against Hillary Clinton. They vote for Bernie Sanders. We are finding that 40% of Sanders voters tonight in West Virginia say that if it's a choice in the fall between Sanders and Donald Trump, they're voting for Donald Trump. They're not voting for Bernie Sanders. The other thing we can tell you is just in terms of what this means to the national race, you know, Bernie Sanders is out there saying, look, if I get on a winning streak, if I run the table here, I can still catch Hillary Clinton and the pledged delegates. A little bit of a reality check here on what he's up against. He's down 295 pledged delegates coming into tonight. We know he's won West Virginia. We know Hillary Clinton will still get delegates. If this is a good night for Bernie Sanders, he probably takes 19, let's say, of those 29. We don't know for sure yet, but let's say it's about 19-10 split. That'd be a good night for him right now. Means he'd gain 9. It means he'd come into the night down 295. He'd come out still down 286. This is a proportional system. This is the biggest problem you have if you're Bernie Sanders, to make up that kind of gap. Even when you're putting wins on the board, you're barely cutting into that kind of a lead.